So it would be like one single test which tells you every how healthy you are, how non-healthy you are, or and then you can change certain things in your life. So you can, for example, include exercise. You can change your diet,
Like,
whatever, and then you can do test again, and you can see that you might become more and more healthy.
I feel like a bit icky about it is that
Yeah.
does this test kind of give a, like an end date for you?
Other things which are not related to any injury or accident, this is all inherent. This is all inside your body, which is manifested by aging. So tackling
Hmm.
aging would also means tackling all of them. Yeah, I mean, indeed, this is controversial. So I think it will really depend on even the people who are doing this research. If you will talk to 10 of them, they will have 10 different answers.
Hmm.
And he was just telling me that, why are you doing medicine? You are not even interested in doing that. You are interested in doing research and science. Go do that. And at that time,
Do you approach aging as a disease that has to be cured, or aging is the norm and you're just trying to, like extend it further?
yeah, so again, a controversial question. What are you doing? Everything is already written in our Vedas and everything, and whatever you are doing is just bullshit, right? It is just reinventing the wheel. And I'm like, whenever somebody tells this to me, and I'm already like,
So, hello everyone to yet another episode of the Transition State podcast. So, today we are looking into a question that has haunted humanity for centuries, since time immemorial. We have a lot of mythological stories and like the Epic of Gilgamesh and Tithonus and the Amruta, and like, yeah, there's the concept of immortality and how to prolong your age is what we are pondering into, and we have someone who is working on it, involving yet another controversial or like catchy phrase, that is machine learning and AI. So he's combining both these together and trying to cook up some science. And so, yeah, he's our guest today. It's Tushar Patel, who's a PhD student at the Leibniz Institute for Aging in Jena, Germany. Hello.
hi, hi, Kevin. Thanks for the nice introduction. How are you?
So I'm I'm good.
In asking the interviewer. Okay.
Yeah,
Anyway, yeah.
I'll I'll have to ask the questions now. So,
Yes. Yes.
uh, yeah, to start off, like, how did you end up with this topic, and like what exactly do you do? I think that will be a better way to start. Maybe start from like very basics and then build up, and then I'll also ask questions in between. So,
Yeah. Right. So, yeah, I mean, as you already briefly mentioned, aging research, immortality, the quest for living longer. So, I think these are kind of these are questions which have been around for decades and centuries, right? So, I mean, we now know people like even in the very ancient past, they used to try these things. In the modern time, things are much more systematic right now. We are doing more research-based, evidence-based sciences. So, idea is to understand why aging happens. So, I mean, okay, I mean, it's very funny because we will talk a lot about this, but if you would ask me, or if you also would ask any other person who is working in the field, that what exactly is aging, right? I think it would be hard to define that. And so it's something which is very mysterious, to be honest. Even today, we don't really understand it. We do not understand why it happens, how it happens, what I mean, not what, why and how it happens. Yeah, and we are trying to basically understand this thing, that why are we evolved in such a way that we age and die one day. So this is what the idea is. And what we are doing now currently is, with more advanced technologies in the last few years or decades, we can collect a lot of data, and then with those we could formulate theories. We could test our theories, and we can formulate models, of course. because this is where things lead up to, and this is where machine learning helps us because we have a lot of data. Of course, we could collect evidences about how it is happening, and then we can yeah, build models to understand it. So this is what in very small what I'm doing. Yeah.
Hmm. So you
Yeah.
mentioned about like using data.
Hmm.
So how does this data look, and like where do you start tackling this like problem? It just feels so big. So how does the data look, and what do you do with it?
Right. So, I mean, what I particularly do is more time series analysis. So, basically, you collect whatever molecular data or whatever kind of, yeah, so molecular data in my case, over your lifetime, over the lifespan. So, I mean, you have a population, right? So, what you can do is collect samples from young population, middle population, like throughout aging, throughout different ages, you can collect samples, and then you can look in what changes, right, with age. And this could give you an idea that what exactly is driving that process. So this is one thing. Of course, then there are people who are doing it from other side, who for example, so I mean, so what our approach is to look like kind of from a bird's eye perspective. So to look for everything what changes with age, but then people go in details for the individual things, and then they put up that or whatever, they play with that, and then they ask this question that specifically at the very molecular level what things contribute to it. So like what we do is more biomarker based approach. So you start with biomarkers because this is something which you can nicely capture, right? So you can measure them, and at a large scale you can measure them. So you can use things like machine learning to model that. Yeah, and then people go deep inside these biomarkers, asking the question that how causal they are. So if they are just correlations or they are even further with causations. Yeah.
You said, is it molecular data? Is it like DNA?
Yes, so I mean, so people work with different things. For me, it is epigenetics, so it is modifications on DNA, specifically DNA methylation. DNA methylation is kind of a very small epigenetic modification. It's a methylation group attached to the DNA. So interestingly, what people have found out, and this is already like quite some time ago. So DNA methylation has a broad role, right? So it is involved in multiple things, but one of the things which it is involved in is gene regulation, is regulating how cells behave, how cells yeah, I mean how they do certain things. And more interesting that than that, people are also found out this changes with age. So very stably you can look at certain positions on your DNA, and you can find that the methylation changes very nicely during age. And then this becomes interesting because one, it is a biomarker, of course, then because you can track it while age. And second, then the bigger question starts from there, that why does it really change? So does is it really meaning something? Is it something causal? Is it a consequence of aging, or is it a cause of aging? So this then starts to get more interesting, and then you start to do more mechanistic studies and so on and so forth. So this is the idea. But this is like one. So as I said, biomarkers can be multiple things. Here in this case, it's DNA methylation. You can look at multiple other aspects. You can look at mutations in the DNA, that how mutations increases with age. You can look
Hmm.
at multiple other things. So these are all kind of biomarkers for aging. So yeah.
So we know for sure that this methylation group, that changes over time as the person ages, but we don't know if that is due to aging or like the other way around.
Yeah,
That
so I
is what
mean,
we are figuring.
yeah. So I mean, we know that it changes,
Hmm.
exactly, but we do not know why it changes,
Hmm.
right? So I mean, there is this very big theory in biology, right? That not just biology, but all of science, more or less. Maybe I don't know about I should not say about other sciences, but I mean, the idea is that if something happens, it should happen for a reason, right? And especially for biological systems, it makes more sense because everything comes at a energy expense, right? So whatever process is happening is taking some energy. So something which is this level stable and which is this level reproducible just cannot happen for nothing. So the idea is that there should be something attached to it. Should be something evolutionary, and I mean everything makes sense only in the light of evolution, as one of our famous professor said. Yeah, and this is very true that this is actually true that if you look from an evolutionary sense, it has to make sense, because if it is, it just cannot be there for no reason, right? So it has to be for some reason, and this is what we are trying to understand now. That what reason is that? I mean, so this is like a very big topic of research, I would say. Still, we are just scratching on the top of the mountain. There's so much more down there. Yeah,
And
yeah. I
also
mean,
the data that sorry.
sorry, just to put in perspective, because we suddenly started with this DNA methylation, and I think the person who is listening, who would listen to it, is like, why the fuck you care about DNA methylation? So I mean, just to give a flavor, so out of all the different processes, biological processes, which we know with aging, DNA methylation is one of the most stable modification that changes with age. So there are, I mean, you can imagine that there are tons of things which changes while you age, right? So I mean, for example, you can look at your hairs; they become white. So this is a biomarker of aging. You can look at your skin; it wrinkles. So this is also a biomarker of aging. You can look at your teeth, so on. You can look at, if you go more detail, you can look at certain things in blood. So for example, levels of some molecule will change with age. So all of these are biomarkers of age. But what I am saying is, and not just what I am saying, but what field has seen throughout, that this particular thing, DNA methylation, is something which is remarkable, that it is one of the most stably changing modification, most stably changing biomarker, which is very highly predictive of age. So this is why it is of interest, that if something is so nicely connected with age, correlated with age, it seems a little far-fetched to believe that it is only correlated. It has to be more than that, and this is what, yeah, this is what the idea is.
So the data that you study with, is it like humans or other species?
It's humans. So,
Humans.
I mean, the
Okay.
primary goal is, of course, all of these kind of research is based on humans. You do researches on model organisms. So, we had this famous episode before with C. elegans, you featuring me on the channel, right? So, there we were doing it C. elegans. Of course, people also do these kind of stuff with C. elegans, but that is more when you have targets. So when you get individual targets, then you go to these model organisms, C. elegans, Drosophila, mice, of course, to study this in more detail. But for these things, I mean, the goal is always to get more human data and look what is really happening in humans. So yeah. So what I study is all human data, more or less.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So different species age differently. Like different species typically have different lifespans. Like tortoise says longer, and trees live longer. And like there are flies that die in days. So this methylation process that you see, is it different in those species, or is it like, is there some differences that you see between species?
Yeah, so it's a great question. So, I mean, the thing is that there are species where DNA methylation is not that prominent. So, where also it happens, but or I mean, or another perspective is that we have not studied that prominently. Um, so yeah. So, for example, C. elegans. C. elegans is a very favorite model organism, but their methylation does not play that much role. But especially if you go more higher in the evolution tree, right, in the hierarchical tree, then when you come towards mammals, it is very stable, I would say. So in all the, not all, but most of the mammals, methylation changes with age, and it is thought to be causal. Very interestingly, I think a couple of years ago only there was this one very big paper where they could show that you can train a single model, single aging clock model. We call it aging clock, but
Hmm.
simple terms it is just to measure aging. So they could show that they could train a single model, machine learning model, which could predict ages across mammalian species. So this was remarkable because imagine what that infers to some extent is that we could learn similar signatures about aging across mammals. So it is that conserved. I mean, we know it is conserved, but it is conserved to that level that even the same model with same features, a little bit going in the lingos, those can predict age very accurately. So this means that things are very, very conserved and stable even across species. Of course, there are differences. There are no doubt about that. As you said, fruit fly dies much quicker than compared to a blue whale, let's say, or Greenland shark. So what I think, and this is what I believe, that because different species have evolved differently, so maybe inherently they have this kind of core mechanism somehow somewhere, but the way it manifests is very different. I mean, so for this you don't even have to go to different species. You can be within one same species, homo sapiens, which is us. Even us as one individual, if you look at, we know now that the brain does not age the same way as your kidney does, or as your liver does, right? So I mean, different species for sure, but even different organs within your same body does not age similarly. So this also, which makes it very interesting, that there is something which is at the core, which is like kind of what we call programmed aging, and then it manifests in such a landscape that which is very, very diverse. And basically we do not understand any of it even until today, right? So I mean, now we are trying to go more and more detail, but it is very fascinating if you think from that sense. Yeah.
Um, so even within the human data set that you might study, you will have to pick it from the same organ because different organs are aging at different
Absolutely.
rates.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I mean, this is also one of the efforts what people have done. So, one of the most studied organ system you can say is blood, because blood is apparently most easiest to collect. So, we all have done some sort of blood test in life, and
Hmm.
basically this becomes the sample size for me, because you can collect thousands of samples from multiple different continents and ethnicities and yeah, environmental habits. So of course you want to train these models to learn patterns in blood, but at the same time it is also harder to get different organs. So for example, getting brains or looking at these things in brain is relatively harder than getting a blood sample, because another thing, if you can imagine that we need samples at the end of the day, so literally need a piece of the tissue to study that, right? From a living system, from a living individual. So which means either you get that when the person dies for whatever reason, which then also means that most of the time you're getting older samples, because young people are less. I mean, okay, accidents happen, but normal causes of death, like natural causes of death, are less. So you get lesser and lesser brain samples or kidney samples or whatever. But we do get sometimes by autopsies. So people have collected these and then they sequence that, and yeah, we kind of get that. But blood is the most common tissue that we could get always, and we so most of the models are trained on blood. But now more and more effort is also happening towards collecting yeah, brain, kidney, liver, all, I mean, all the different tissues, because everything everything ages differently. So this makes it very challenging that something which might work for brain would not work for liver, and also
Hmm.
true for blood. So something which you would think that makes blood cells healthier, would not make brain cells healthier. It could be. So yeah, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
and I think this also, I think it's a good point to make. I don't know. I see in the media now, people, especially common people, are getting more and more, I don't know, they are getting, because of all marketing and capitalistic world we are living in these things are very, very openly they are getting talked about, and we want to do something about aging. So I mean, of course, these anti-aging creams are there for so long. There is a great market about it, and I don't know, there are people now like Brian Johnson. He's a famous tech billionaire from US, and they also, I mean, so he's somebody who really who's really a great addition for the aging field, because he creates this awareness that this is something you should work on. And I mean, for sure, I mean, health is, I mean, aging is all connected with health. It is all connected with being healthy and with the medical system and so on. But I mean, I also see this kind of, overhype of things, and you also see this kind of bullshit coming around in the market, that you should do this to slow down your aging, you should do this to make yourself healthy. I mean, of course you can do different things, but you don't know, at the very basic level things are very, very complicated. And even with these kind of advanced tools, we are just starting to understand things. I mean, I would not say that it's not a good idea to believe on them. It is, of course, you should believe on them, they are evidences, but you should not be like blinded towards them, right? So this is very important. So I mean, just a practical idea, whatever bullshit I've talked about, whatever we will talk about, this will manifest in things which will be futuristic. So for example, today you go to pharmacist, and they or a doctor, they prescribe you some blood tests, and you do
Hmm.
that to know your blood sugar levels, right? Or to know how much hemoglobin you have, or I don't know, XYZ, whatever markers you have, and then based on that they judge that what could be going wrong, and then they follow up, you do more tests, and then this is how the diagnosis works, right? So the idea is, in future, with these kind of things, like for aging test, so the idea would be that you would take your blood sample. I mean, it will not be, it is also already happening. These kind of things are already getting popular. So you'll do one test. It would be an aging test, and it will basically tell you everything. It will tell you how you are aging, and how you are aging means it would be a combination of everything which is happening inside your body. So it would be like one single test which tells you every how healthy you are, how non-healthy you are, or and then you can change certain things in your life. So you can, for example, include exercise. You can change your diet,
Right.
whatever, and then you can do test again, and you can see that you might become more and more healthy. So I mean, this is how the future looks like from this perspective. Yeah.
But this also, like, based on this, I feel like a bit icky about it. Is that
Yeah.
does this test kind of give a, like, a end date for you? Like, is this like, yeah, based on the current trends, you're going to have a lifespan of so and so. If you change these things, your lifespan will become so and so. Is that something which you want to know about it? Like, my end is like at this point. Is
Um,
that something we are heading towards?
maybe, but at the moment, this test just tells you your biological age, right? So it just tells you how different you are from your chronological age. To just clarify these two terms, chronological age is the calendar days you have lived. So
Hmm.
whatever, 25 years, 27 years, 3 months, 13 days. Biological age is something which is expected of you, which is expected from your body. I mean, so you could be like 25 years chronologically, but you could be like 23 years biologically, which means that you are living 2 years healthier, which you can then further extrapolate to say that, okay, the average lifespan today is 75 years or something. Depends also on the country and place you are living in. So
Hmm.
then you can roughly estimate that how longer. So I mean, okay, if you are delaying like age with a rate of 2 years, I mean, you can calculate, right? So it would be like 25 23 divided by 25. So I mean, you would be delaying your age by some point something. So then you can roughly calculate that what does that mean, that how longer will I live.
Hmm.
But the thing is that, okay, this sounds very nice, but it also changes. So there are so many factors each day which will influence how these biomarkers change, and also how your health changes. in your body. So I mean, it could be that today you are doing great, but you had a great party one day, one Friday evening, and then next day, if you do your test, or maybe 2 days later, your biomarkers would be shitty, and you are crying about it that now I'm going to die in next 10 years or so. So I mean, this is what I'm saying. So these things are also, yeah, these things are also, in that sense, a little still work in progress, that we are trying to make it more robust. And this is also where I come in personally in my PhD, in my work. We are trying to make them more robust. I mean, we are trying to make the algorithms more robust, because I mean, you cannot change your biomarkers, but you can change how you observe them, right, or how you interpret them. So this is the idea. But I think in the future we will have, not in the future, I mean the upcoming time, we will have better and better things which would be more reliable. But yeah, I mean, definitely this is something which is which would be helping medical industry a lot. Which would,
Right.
so I mean, imagine that if everybody becomes aware about this, and I mean, it's also a marketing thing, right? So once things become popular and you start getting interest in that,
Right.
things also becomes cheaper. So this is what we also expect, that in future these kind of tests will become so cheaper that you can do it very easily, like a normal blood sugar test, and then it would be accessible to everybody. And then when you would know that how you are doing, then you would be able to control that also to some extent. Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, now that you've given a broad overview of your project, I also wanted to ask, like, how does like machine learning play a role in this? Like, you have a lot of data and it's complex. I understand that. The like, how exactly machine learning ML plays a role in that?
Right. So, I mean, yeah, as I told you that DNA methylation changes. So I mean, there are multiple things you can do, but I will talk to you very simple case scenario, which is also the most standard scenario and the most popular scenario. So this DNA methylation changes with age, and what you can do is that you can measure this DNA methylation across your genome, so across all the positions on your DNA. And once you have this, so you can measure it using these kind of arrays we have. So these Illumina arrays are very popular, 450K. I mean, okay, not going into the technicalities, but long story short, you can measure across your genome how the methylation is changing on different
Hmm.
positions and so on and so forth. And then you would have a lot of data. And then you can also measure this across aging, right? So you could ask this. I mean, you can simply measure this in blood from very infant sample, so which has just born, and then so on. I mean, you could do it until 120 years or 130 years. These centenarians which live very longer, you can also take blood from them, and then you can put together all of this data. And then yeah, I mean, you are what you are doing at the end of the day is a very simple machine learning algorithm. You can pick any of them. The most famous in the field are simple regression based approaches. Now we are getting more complex towards more nonlinear model types and yeah, deep learning based techniques. But even a simple regression based linear model works pretty nice. Yeah, so basically you simply train the model to learn how your target variable, which is age, changes with the methylation of
Hmm.
certain places in the DNA. And then this model will eventually learn this thing, that how exactly. So I mean, by learning means it will learn these coefficients, right, at the end of the day, these parameters inside the model. And then it will know that okay, these portions of the genome or this portion of your DNA is very important, and this changes nicely with age, and we can capture this in the model, and we can, yeah, assign a weight to it, a parameter to it. And exactly, so this is what happens. And then when you have this trained model once, so I mean, the idea is first you train this model, so you require a lot of data set. You put the data set together from a lot of samples, and then once you have a trained model, this model acts as a test model. So then you can take any other XYZ person's sample, do this sequencing, do this test for your DNA methylation on your DNA, and basically then test with this model. And because the model knows how this kind of profile should look like age wise, so it will then tell
Hmm.
you a predicted age, and this exactly becomes your biological age. So this is
Right.
exactly the process.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's because you have so much volume, it's not like you can see those patterns or commonalities. So then you use ML to go through it
Exactly,
and
exactly. So what you are
test
dealing
for
with
patterns.
is a huge multidimensional space. So you have, I mean, your features are DNA methyl groups on the positions of DNA with changes. So these are like, yeah, I mean, theoretically in our genome there are around billions of CPGs, billions of okay, CPGs are DNA methylation positions which change, but billions of these positions in the genome which change for methylation. But what we capture is only from these tests are still like 300,000 or 500,000 different positions. But still, this is huge. I mean, imagine that we are making a test for 300,000 tests, kind of, right? So, I mean, of course, to, to visualize it is difficult. To also empirically just work with it is difficult. So here exactly machine learning comes handy, that because these models can really they can really pick signatures in such a multidimensional space, and yeah, that's why we use them. Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
yeah, I got some idea. Like now moving on to the more like philosophical or ethical side of things. Uh, so you know the story of like Tithonus who like asks to be immortal,
Yeah.
but he doesn't ask about being youthful.
Yeah.
So he like has infinite age, but he like grows older and weaker over time. So are we closer towards uh like immortality, like longer lifespan, or are we closer towards longer health span, like being healthier for longer rather than living for longer?
Yeah, I mean, indeed, this is controversial. So I think it will really depend on even the people who are doing this research. If you will talk to 10 of them, they will have 10 different answers. Logically, what I think, my opinion is that at the moment it's all about health span. It is all about increasing healthy lifestyle. It is all about saying that we are getting more and more healthy because we know why we get unhealthy with age, kind of. And we want to treat it, of course. But in a longer picture, if you see, it leads to the ideas of immortality, because the idea is that if you increase your health span, so which means that, so okay, I mean, imagine what happens now, right? So now we are born, we grow older, we become young, we are in like kind of now states of our life where we are supposed to be strongest, yeah, healthiest and whatever. I mean, biologically also, because this is the time when you are supposed to
Right,
reproduce, so you are supposed to continue your progeny, and then your body starts to degrade slowly and gradually once you lose these reproductive capacities, and then you start to become older and you eventually die. So what really happens is that when you stop aging, or when you talk about increasing health span, you kind of talk about this thing to extend this period of life, that you will grow, you will reach this level of life where you are stronger, healthier, most developed, and then kind of you would stay on that level. So you will not degrade after that, you will not decline, your body, your health will not decline, you remain at that condition for a much longer time, right? So this is the current goal, I would say. This is what we say, that okay, when we will increase our lifespan to 200 years or 500 years, this is what would happen. But imagine, I mean, if you just imagine that on an extreme point, what it leads to is immortality. Because at the moment humans live 100 years max, 120 or 130, whatever is the longest known age, and the average is something around 75 to 80. Again, depends on country. So we think about 200 would be really nice, right? So we think, okay, 200 would be a good number. Maybe sometime later this number will shift to 500, sometime later it would be 1000, so on and so forth. So I don't know about the future, but what I could see is that this would continue to be infinite, right? So at some point you would talk about immortality, that this is what we want to achieve. I mean, in the current world, in the current whole domain, we cannot imagine that, because yeah, I mean, this idea of immortality is quite complicated, both philosophically and practically, right? I mean, our Earth is not uh, is not
Doesn't have the capacity for
does not have the capacity to
like
hold.
we see like countries like Japan and South Korea, like the population itself is aging, and
Yeah, yeah.
the working population, the productive population
Even
is
Europe,
kind of
even Europe.
shrinking.
Yeah,
And this, by increasing the age, if we are increasing also the like
yeah.
the old age population and old age duration, that might cause trouble, like for a country's
Yeah, yeah.
economy or like the global environment. And
For sure. I mean, I'm in Europe, and Europe also. This is a very big concern, especially in Germany, and especially in this part of the Germany, Eastern Germany. There are more old people than young people, and this definitely leads to crisis that you are paying more pension. So there are more pensioners than young people who are contributing in the system. So from a political system also, it makes sense to somehow make these either, so I mean, okay, either make these old people be more healthy, right, so that they are not a big burden over the system, or the young people extend their working age, working span, so that they can contribute more to the system, they can contribute more to the economy. Also true for Japan and Korea. So I mean, for sure, this is the goal at the moment, especially with these kind of economies where there are more older. I mean, with the Indian context, we exactly, this is why in Indian system it is not a priority at all, because we are a still very young economy, so a lot of young people. So we don't consider this as a problem that we think aging as a concern. There are even bigger problems, but eventually it will lead to that, right? So eventually,
right.
when, because we are also in the same trajectory as these countries were at some point of time. So yeah, I mean, these challenges everybody would face eventually, so it is also very important to tackle them now. I mean, sooner than better. So yeah.
But is tackling that through like increasing birth rate or increasing health span or lifespan? Like,
Yeah, exactly. Increasing health span. I mean, bettering your health span, because increasing birth rate, of course. I mean, this is also the idea when you said, when we were talking about this catering power of the earth. So, I mean, if you increase health span, if you increase lifespan, if there are people living more younger and healthier, then that means if you keep on also adding on to the population by the same birth rate what we have currently, it will definitely lead to an overshoot on Earth will not be able to sustain that. So I mean, definitely what we can control is the birth rate. I mean, that is something which is in our control, and I mean, there are countries which have done that. China, great example of that. So I mean, it's not something which is not controllable, it is something which is controllable, and it makes total sense to control the birth rate and to sustain a healthy lifestyle for those who have already taken birth on the planet. This makes more sense than compared to a condition like India, where more young people are getting born, but when they reach that phase of life, when they are mature enough, they are grown enough, now they either don't have jobs, or they even do not have, I mean, economy to sustain their healthy lives, because things are polluted, because things are not accessible. So I mean, it makes total sense to give birth to less people, but sustain them better, and give them a better life. So I think this is also the goal, which we should work on, and which should eventually lead to yeah, philosophy.
yes. Yeah, like, yeah, this topic was so juicy for that, like that kind of
Yeah,
conversation. So I
yeah,
had
yeah.
to ask on it.
No,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah. Do you approach aging as a disease that has to be cured, or aging is the norm and you're just trying to, like extend it further?
Yeah, so again, a controversial question. I don't know. The short answer is I don't know.
It's I'm just asking your opinion on it because you're
Yeah, yeah,
working in a field on it.
yeah. So
These
I
are
mean,
questions you will, I assume you will have it on running on your head mind as well. So
for sure, I have these questions running in my head, and this is also the reason why I am also more susceptible answering them, because the thing is that they are so controversial that, again, if you ask 10 different people, you will have 10 different opinions. Okay, people consider, so there is also now a big community which starts to say that aging itself is a disease, because it comes from more political side, it comes from more funding side, because if you do not classify aging as a disease, then you get less and less federal funding for researching on these topics. So this is why people want to say more aging as a disease. On the other hand, biologically and also a little bit philosophically, aging is more like mother of all diseases, at least most of the diseases. So, for example, we know all the different kind of cardiovascular diseases, all the different kind of, different organ. I mean, liver cirrhosis. I mean, everything. Aging is one of the biggest risk factors in them. So, aging leads to more occurrences of these disease. So, it could be that because we are aging, we are getting susceptible to get these disease. I mean, of course, then you have things like cancer. And cancer also, I mean, aging is also a risk for cancer for sure. With age, when we with older age, you are at much higher risk of getting some sort of cancer than compared to when you are young. But there are also other kinds of cancer which are more not in age dependent. So things which happen in children, right? So all of these children based cancer cases. So I mean, in that case, probably aging is not a risk factor because they are caused by something not pertaining to age. But other than that, most of the things, 90 or 95% of all the diseases that we know are a result of aging, are a consequence of aging. So if you will treat aging, that means you would also treat all of those diseases. I mean, classical example are these neurodegeneration things, all the dementia related, Alzheimer, Parkinson. They are a classical cause of aging. I mean, we know now, we believe that all the cardiovascular things are also now very well proven to be age associated. So, and I mean, I'm very certain that with the time, people will find more and more about this, because I mean, philosophically, if you think about it, the idea is that you have a body. I mean, body does not care how you classify this as a disease or not, right? For body, it's a system at the end of the day,
Right.
and it is getting deregulated, it is breaking down. It was supposed to take birth, it was supposed to reproduce, and then wear out. That is how it has evolved. And now what is happening in the current domain, by whatever we are doing, I mean, this is also true for medical science, right? I mean, this is exactly what medical science is doing. That, I mean, when you get a disease, you go to hospital, you go to a doctor, they prescribe you a treatment, they give you some, I mean, something. The goal is to make you healthy again, right? And the goal is to sustain you. So in short, medical system is doing the same thing, right? In part and parcels. This is exactly also what aging is doing. Aging research is saying that, okay, we want to understand that why this happens. I mean, you can exclude all the cases of accidents. I mean, of course, you can get accident that is not related to aging, but all the other things which are not related to any injury or accident, this is all inherent. This is all inside your body, which is manifested by aging. So tackling
Mm.
aging would also means tackling all of them. And I think this is why it is really, really, really interesting and really, really important for the future to understand this perspective, that, yeah, why is it important to do this kind of research. I mean, and I think I already see that the developed countries are already putting a lot of money in that, so because they have realized it. And not just developed countries, bigger companies, Google and so on, and they are also investing things in longevity and this
A
kind of
lot
science.
of
So
CEOs.
yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Because I mean, this is why you realize that a country like India would also do this eventually. If not today, maybe in like 100 years or so. Yeah. But we would
I
not.
didn't know there was like a dedicated institute for aging. Like,
Oh,
yeah,
there are a
like
bunch
I
of
didn't know it
them.
was that big. As in, like countries were pouring in that much money into it.
For sure.
So,
In Germany, actually, there are two of them. I'm in one called Leibniz Institute on Aging. There is another one in Cologne. This is Max Planck Institute for Aging. So in Germany, there are two. Netherlands, there is one big institute called ERIBA. Yeah, so I mean, at least in Europe, there are a few of these. There are dedicated companies, Eltos, in Silico, which are also just doing aging research. US also, US has much bigger setups. They have these much bigger institutes, much bigger funding. So I mean, yeah, now there are separate institutes. There are dedicated people who are just solely studying aging. Because yeah, I mean, I would, if I mean, okay, now it would be controversial. A lot of people will hate me for this, but I really think rather than doing all biomedical research to cure certain disease, one should invest time and money in curing aging, because that will eventually cure all the other kind of, yeah, diseases. So yeah, but it's just my
Hot
opinion.
take.
Yeah.
um, Silly question. Like, assuming your research gets a successful drug out or like a medicine out that like makes you live for, I don't know, 200 years, 300 years, would you take it?
Would I take it?
Yeah.
Good question. Maybe, maybe. So the thing is that I do not, I mean, okay, from again, this is coming from my bias at the moment, because I think aging is that complicated that it is very hard to make a drug, make one pill to cure it. But if in future, if it really happens, sure, I will.
Hypothetical.
Hypothetical, yeah, sure. I would love to do that. I will love to do that. But I also believe that, so it is not just one pill. It's a whole lifestyle which shapes aging, right? So there are so many components of it. Everything contributes to aging. So yeah, I would definitely try to do that in my personal life as well. I mean, this was also one of the goals why I started doing, and I was interested in this field of research back from the school days. So I started thinking about this when I finished my 12th, and I was reading some random papers about this field, and I was always like, I mean, I had no idea at that time what research is even. So I had no idea how one really do that. But yeah, I mean, this is where it all started. So yeah, I would love to do it later as well, for sure.
You want to live longer and travel around and see more places, meet more people.
For sure. I mean, this is also one of the motivation, at least until now. Touch wood. I don't know until when it remains, but I think, I mean, this is also one of the things I'm fascinating about. And the thing is that this world, it's a beautiful world to live in, right? The more people you meet, the more places you go, the different things you try, and you find out it's a even beautiful world. So I mean, I always just want to live in that, and probably experience all the things in that and around that, not just world, not just this planet, but also outside that, the whole universe.
Does that feeling change, say, if it is not to like 200, 300 years, but like immortality? Like you're there forever.
Yeah, I mean, it will definitely change the whole perspective of life for sure. I mean, imagine that. I mean, now we know we are in sort of hurry to do everything, right? We are in hurry to progress our careers. We are in kind of a rush to find somebody to get settled in life. I mean, all of these things are because we have this idea that we have a limited time on the planet. But imagine if that goes away. Imagine that tomorrow you get to know that you have infinite life. So what would you do? I mean, some people will argue that I will not do anything, right? I mean, they will just say, I mean, I don't want to do that. Sure, I mean, I also understand that. But I mean, I'm pretty sure there would be people like me, or maybe you, I guess, who would say, okay, let's go out. Let's pack our bag and go out for a everlasting and adventures, right? So I mean, this is also the point that we cannot imagine that at the moment with this lifestyle, with this life also, because we haven't born with that silver spoon. But I wish and I believe that one day that will happen eventually. So, and then these future generation, their lives would be very, very different, very, very different
Hmm.
than ours. Yeah.
So you like brought this point about your like 12th standard.
Yeah.
I want to catch on to that and
Yeah.
look more on the like personal journey side of it things.
Hmm.
Like yeah, like you said like 12th itself you figured out like you read papers on this topic and like, but like how did you know like okay what like you said you didn't know about research, so first finding out about research, then like ICER and like yeah the whole. projects you did
Yeah.
on the way, and then jumping from C. elegans to
Yeah, I would not say that I figured out at that time everything. For sure I did not. And I mean now more I go ahead, I have this feeling that I haven't figured out anything. And I am also becoming a kind of more spontaneous person in that sense that I don't want to figure out things. I want to do things as they
just do
happen.
it.
Yeah, yeah, just do it. But I mean, okay, so for the 12th, at that time I was actually preparing for the medical examination, for this medical entrance examinations. Coming from the north, this was only the two things which you could have done, engineering or medicine. I was there for medicine.
I think in South
Um,
as well, it's the same. It's
yeah, kind of. It's all India similar stuff.
India,
Either
Pan India, Asia, I think as well.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, for North India, it's I think very very sure because people will just don't think you are successful in life if you're not a doctor or an engineer. So whatever I become in life, even if I become a professor one day or a CEO of some very big company, they would be like, you are a failure. You are not a doctor. You are not a medical doctor. You are not an engineer.
What reactions do you get like from people around you, like when you go back to India?
I mean, they
Like
don't even
when you tell like,
understand.
oh, I'm doing this.
They don't understand. So my relatives, I am pretty sure they don't understand what I do. They don't respect also what I do. But I understand that because for them they don't have this perspective, right? That this is how life works. They just have a very conservative perspective and they only think from that. So I don't at this point I don't even want them to know what I do. I'm like,
Hmm.
you be happy in your life, I be happy in mine. Yeah, I don't think so. They will ever realize because also it comes from a little egoish point of view from there, right? That especially I think this I also have this feeling this is getting more and more in India now that everybody, especially in the north, if you talk to them and they would be like, "What are you doing? Everything is already written in our Vedas and everything, and whatever you are doing is just bullshit, right? It is just reinventing the wheel." And I'm like, whenever somebody tells this to me, and I'm already like furious. I'm like, this, okay, I respect Vedas and whatever. I mean, this would be a very different topic, but just to put it. But I mean, I respect the knowledge they have there. But at least by saying that you are disrespecting me or you are disrespecting people in the current time who are doing a lot of work and they are not just doing it for their own benefit, they are doing it for everybody. So when you just simply say that straight out that yeah, I mean everything is already written and it does not matter what you are doing, right? It is everything is there. I mean then I am like, okay, I give up. I just don't want to talk about it because if you believe that if you believe your own thoughts then you will not listen to new ones. And yeah, I mean, so okay, so we deviated a little bit, but this is
Yeah.
this is also where I was when I was in 12th, that I was also kind of very biased that either I'm going to medical or engineering. I ended up choosing medical. I was looking for entrance examination. I sat twice in the medical entrance examination, got a decent rank, not good enough to end up being in one of the top colleges anywhere. So then it was also very interesting. It was a Thursday evening, and I was sitting with one of my teachers there. He was a chemistry teacher. No, I mean, so both of them. One of them was a chemistry teacher. One of them was a biology teacher.
Hmm.
And he was just telling me that why are you doing medicine? You are not even interested in doing that. You are interested in doing research and science, go do that. And at that time I had zero idea. I just had heard this name of IISc Bangalore because this was the only institute I knew where you could do science. And I was
Hmm.
like, this is something where I could go, but it seems too far-fetched. I am not that capable enough to go to IISc to get an admission there, considering how competitive that is, considering how I mean, to get an admission in undergrad, I think at that time it was even more competitive. Now they increase seats or whatever. And then I was like, no, no, I'm not capable enough. And then they told me, yeah, yeah, sure, okay, maybe you should try it first of all, and then you should also try for these ISERs because maybe ISER is a better place for you. There are seven of them, and maybe you get a seat in some of them in one of them. And I was like, okay, let's give a try. I just fill out the form, went to give the examination, and yeah, ended up being in Iser Bhopal, meeting Kavin. So so I think it was a spontaneous journey back then also. And Iser was a very I don't know. I mean, if I would credit something as change of my life, it was Iser. Whatever I am today, I mean, I was like nothing. I knew nothing before, and I knew nothing about career. I knew nothing almost about science. I knew nothing about research, anything. And then Iser happened in life, and then everything changed. I found beautiful. I found amazing people around, learned a lot from them, from colleagues, colleagues, friends, from mentors, from professors, from this whole environment. It was just beautiful. The whole experience was amazing, considering that we had a pandemic in between, so it could have been even better.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I mean, even then it was amazing. Those 5 years were, yeah, it did change the life completely. It did. Now I feel like I learned a lot from that, and I feel like that I learned to do something from that. And I mean, at that time also, I remember this last year of applying for PhD positions. That was also one of the most anxious time I ever had, because I was like, okay, now the degree is ending. I would become unemployed, and I don't want to do a job. I am not interested in corporate job, whatever, and I want to do research. And what is the only way of doing is it's getting a PhD, which I'm not getting. I have to apply. I have to apply to so many places and get rejections and whatever. I mean, yeah, I think it also humbles you down and makes you, it makes you realize where
Very,
you
very,
exactly. Sorry?
very, very true. It humbles you down.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, you know where you belong to, but that should make you stronger, right? It should tell you where you belong and what things you can work on. And yeah, I think this has been my story. So uh, yeah, it has been good so far. I would say it has been kind of quite spontaneous. At some point, I had no idea I would end up being an ISER. I was in ISER. Then I had certain ideas in my mind that only for research I need to go to states, and only to these big top universities, Harvard or whatever. That only if I end up being there, my career would be a successful career. And then, yeah, I mean, now I'm almost in the last year of PhD, and I could say it was a great lie. um, Things changed out for good, and yeah, so far so good. So,
And then you studied C. elegans.
when I
You are
see,
in a chemistry lab.
oh
You
yeah,
are in a bio lab.
that was also a beautiful detour. So actually, Rati ma'am from that, I just mailed her because she was working with C elegans, and I had no interest in chemistry for sure. I used to hate that chemistry. Also, thanks to our professors, uh, with physical and organic, whatever. Anyway, but I just I just mailed her saying that I'm interested in working with C. elegans because I'm interested in working in aging. And this was also a beautiful story. And she said, yeah, she was also, she was very interested, not very, I mean, like, she was a young professor back then. I mean, and she was like, okay, you can come to the lab, just explore around and figure out things. And that was also something it was a great learning experience, because yeah, we started doing things, and then that, yeah, a lot of things do not work out. Your textbook knowledge changes. So things happen in textbook, and I think this is why it is very important to do science. That when you do science, and so there is a difference between learning science and doing science. So you really learn a lot, much more when you do that. And I mean, you learn a lot new things, a lot new perspectives, and it makes you resilient, right? I think you would agree. So, so yeah, I think this was a great learning experience as well. So, I mean, this also was a very spontaneous decision that I ended up being there. And then, yeah, I think because of that, I was also motivated to apply for internships. Then went to Canada also on my text, together with you, in different parts, of course. But yeah, I think that was also a very great experience, because it also taught a lot of things, research culture outside India, and I think it gave me this perspective that there is a lot of toxicity in Indian research culture, in Indian academic culture, which is not there outside. So there could be better situations for you to work and really do science rather than doing bullshit around. So it also was a motivation to step out. Yeah,
explore the world.
explore the world. Yes, and I think I
Um,
now when I look back, I really think it was a good decision. Whatever in all. So yeah,
Hindsight.
yes, for sure.
So on the final note, I would actually wanted to ask, like, if someone wants to work, you are saying it's a like a hot topic now, like more and more people, more and more funding.
Yeah.
So how do you like? What's like the typical career trajectory? And then are there opportunities in Europe, America, elsewhere, and what's the scene now also in India?
Right. So, I mean, it's a very interesting field to work on, I would say. I had a small funding group here, and we had a lot of medical people there. So, a lot of medical doctors who were coming together with us and doing research. So, I would say that it's not just for scientists who would be around in the field. It was not just for biologists. It is also for different people. I know physicists. I know somebody who was a particle physicist who is now doing aging research. Of course, data scientists for sure, because data is something which is power in the future going ahead. So it's a great field because it is something which just does not involve biology. It involves theories. It involves data. It involves approaches which are beyond one domain of science. It is probably one of I would okay because I'm advertising the
Interdisciplinary.
yeah, yeah, I am advertising the field. I will say it is probably one of the most interdisciplinary thing you could ever do. Um, and how to reach there is also very, very non-defined. So as I said, you could be a medical doctor. You could be doing your MBBS in India or an MD here, and you could start doing aging research from some perspective. You could be a physicist who has a great knowledge about systems. So you could be a great person to think stories from a thermodynamic perspective. This is also something which is a great field of research in aging, that there is this whole idea that why system age, because I mean imagine that you had a perfect system to begin with. It has aged, so the equilibrium has shifted to one extreme, and you could build theories about that and you could test them. For biologists, for sure, you could go to the molecular biology side of it. You could go to the so I'm a bioinformatician, computational biologist, so you could also switch to that. So it's not necessary that if you are a biologist you just have to do wet lab. You could also switch your career at some point and you can start doing computational biology. For me, the motivation was that I always thought that if I'm just doing experimental, then I'm only looking at a very small area of research. When I start doing computational, I expand my horizon to much more things. I could look from a bird's eye perspective. I could formulate bigger theories and test them. So this also could be you. So I mean, yeah. So I mean, to summarize, I would say it's not just one path. You could have your own path. I mean, of course, the standard is that you need a college degree to some extent, right? So you need to
Yep.
do bachelor somewhere after finishing your school, a bachelor's or a master's, preferably with a research background. So with where you are doing active research. I mean, it's not just to become very experienced in this field of research, but in some field of research. So you know the methodologies, the idea of doing research, you know how to perceive science, how to test science, and how to be have rational thoughts about questioning things, right? So this would be helpful. And then once you have a bachelor's or master's degree, I mean in US, if you go, you don't even need a master's degree. You could directly go to do a PhD without a bachelor's. I mean, even you do not need a PhD to do research. I mean, you could do still great research and end up doing masters, right? So it totally depends what you want to do. It totally depends. I think it's very important to at some point of time to start thinking what you want to do and then figure out your own way. So there is always these conventional paths: do a bachelor's, master's, PhD, and then yeah, postdoc, and then become a professor and do research. But you can also do something like that. You can do a bachelor's, You can jump onto an industry job, do some work there, complete there, go do some masters, then hop on to another industrial job. In between, you find time, you want to do a PhD, go do a PhD, or if you don't want to do a PhD, continue working with that. So yeah, I mean, so there are multiple trajectories. I don't want to confuse, but I also don't want to say that there is just one conventional path. I mean, in the world of ChatGPT and AI and Google becoming supremely powerful, I think people will be able to figure out their own paths. Given that you are motivated, given that you are interested, you will find your own path.
What about in India? Like, do you know places where it's happening?
So in India, as I said, aging is not a priority. It's not one of the hot fields of research. I know. I definitely have to acknowledge in the last few years things have started to shape up, especially in Bangalore. I know there are a couple of institutes which have been set up. There are a couple of organizations, longevity research. ISC is one of the drivers of those. So there you could find opportunities, but until now they don't have a programmed curriculum as such in aging. So I don't know if in future they will do that. Like for example, here where I'm doing, it's a graduate school on aging. So it's a very structured program on aging research. This at the moment is not there in India. Hopefully, it will turn out to be. If you want to do research, there are a bunch of labs here and there in different national institutes. TIFR, there are a bunch of labs. NCBS, there are labs. ISERS, there are not a lot, but here and there somewhere people are interested in this kind of research. ISC for sure. And then there are also some companies which are coming up, right? So, I mean, I also look forward to them.
Startups.
Startups, yes. I also look forward to them to be in one such company maybe in future. I don't know. Again, as I said, I don't want to decide at the moment. But these also seems like a good place to be in. And I think I really feel like India has a great potential because there are so many people around. It's a great
Hmm.
system to study science and also study aging. Because I mean, this is also the thing that aging, what we believe, is a very conserved phenomena as a thing. And the more diverse systems you get, the better signal you can pull out from that, the better conserved signal you can pull out from that. And this will give you more insights about the process. So I think aging, India is a very fertile ground for doing such a research. Just that, I mean, of course, government has to, funding bodies have to acknowledge it at some point of time and start investing in that. And also researchers have to take it up. I mean, this is also, as we talked about, it is still a taboo topic. People don't want to do aging research. I mean, at some point you have to do. I mean, Japan realized it when their population starts to go down. Europe also realized it when they started to go down, and they already start to have problems now. India should realize it now and start working on it. And before the problem happens, they should have a solution about it, or at least some parts of solution about it. So yeah, I mean, there is a great future. There is a great bright future out there. I think people just need to come together and work for it. So yeah,
Nice. Thank you
yeah.
so much. It's
Not,
been like
it's
1 hour
not.
of
Sorry.
asking you tough questions, I guess.
No, come on. I was. I hope I was just not being too, too. I don't know, capitalistic, capitalistic for selling the field. But yeah,
Okay.
uh, yeah.
You have to
I
do
think
what you have to do.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And I think it's lovely talking about things, right? I'm somebody also who likes talking about work and research and everything. So yeah, it was a great conversation yet again to have
Yet again, yes.
yet again after the C elegance.
There's a C elegance video which you can check out. I don't know, somewhere there.
Yeah.
YouTube. Yeah. Yeah. From that to AI and ML with proper coder now from a wet
Ah,
lab.
I don't know, but on the journey. Yeah.
Hopefully, life takes you somewhere new next.
Yes. Hopefully next
Yeah.
time we are doing an episode, you be the CEO somewhere or you be the professor, and me too, hopefully. Or I mean, it's
Funding de
fine.
do.
Sorry?
Funding de do. Funding de.
Funding, yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah. We will figure out.
Yeah.
Okay,
On that
cool.
note, I'd like to end. Thank you so much in your busy schedule for coming. Uh,
It was really busy on a Saturday afternoon. I had so many plans.
hopefully people find more new people find out about this field. It's new and booming. So yeah, anyone's interested, you can ask questions to him. You know who to ask.
For sure.
uh, yeah. So on
Contact
that,
details in description.
yes, yeah, done.
Okay,
Uh, so
perfect.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thanks a
Bye
lot
bye.
again. Bye bye.